Today, we're going to talk about a potential active shooter that was stopped from entering a church where 60 children were receiving their first communion. They were all separated from the parents. There's a lot to unpack about this. We're going to talk about the incident, show video from the incident, and then most importantly, just like we do in every video, we're going to break down what we could do to help prevent something like this from happening at our church, or if it does happen at our church, how to quickly react to it with professionalism and good biblical values, and to keep all of our parishioners safe. Now, if you want to know more about protecting your church and how to react in situations like this, even if you're not a Christian, then go ahead and hit subscribe, leave a comment. I may not be able to respond to every comment, but I read almost all of them. You may also want to subscribe to my newsletter. It comes out a couple times a week over at ChristianWarriorTraining.com. I've got the newsletter. I don't spam you. I literally just tell you about incidents like this, and I give you training tips and tactics to make your church safer. I also put out a weekly compilation of crime that occurred at churches over the past week, and it's a lot, and it always contains violence and a lot of other bad things. And we do it in a way that you can learn from that and make your church safer. There's also a training tab. You can receive free training. There is no gimmick. It's my gift to you as a fellow follower of Christ to learn more about keeping your church safe. All right, let's go ahead and break down what occurred at this church in Louisiana. Now, again, this happened in Abbeville, Louisiana, as 60 children were receiving their first communion at St. Mary Magdalene Catholic Church. As the service started, a teenager dressed all in black with a rifle walked into the church. It was at that time he was stopped by church parishioners from entering. We don't know what happened as far as if he got tackled, like how that all came about. But what we do know is the church parishioners stopped him from coming in as he was dressed all in black with a rifle. Now, the big question is, what were his intentions? Well, you have a high-profile event happening. 60 children separated from their parents. They're going to receive their first communion. I have been warning you repeatedly in multiple videos about intelligence coming out that our churches are at risk, high risk of an attack. On the threat level system, we are at orange right now, which is high level for a risk of attack. We may be going to red, which is imminent attack, fairly soon. So we know he wasn't there for show and tell with his rifle. More than likely, he was going to come there to either take hostages or to shoot people. Now, I want to point out some things coming out on the video feed. Now, as this was unfolding, a man in a suit walked up to the altar as the priest was about to prepare for the communion, and he stopped to kneel. And I don't know much about Catholicism, okay? But he knelt, did the sign that Catholics often do. And I know you guys are going to correct me in the comments. I get it. That's fine. I'm not Catholic. Be easy on me. It's not the point I'm making. But then he goes and talks to the priest. And you can see the alarm. He's telling him unfolding. I'm assuming he's probably telling him, hey, there was a kid with a rifle that was stopped from coming in. I want to go back to the man kneeling. You have a kid with a rifle that is being stopped from coming into the church. Stop protocol. Get over. Give your command. Talk to him about what's going on so we can get things under control. It's not time to go through repetitive things that we would normally do at church. This is an emergency, right? And I'm not bashing them. We're ingrained to do certain things when we're at church. There's certain rituals that we do. But if you have somebody with a gun that's about to attack you, it's okay to skip those rituals. It's okay to skip the rituals and get everybody safe. So the other issue is the pastors end up ducking down at one point. Now, I get it. It's human nature to seek cover when something's going on, but that tells me that priest has not prepared for what is going to happen if there's a critical incident in your church. Now, I put my campus pastors through a similar incident just last month when we were doing incident command training, and I was trying to teach the pastors their role in incident command if there is a bad thing that happens. We did a whole bunch of scenarios like a church fire, how are you going to handle that, stuff like that. But we did an active shooter scenario while the pastor was at the pulpit. And I can tell this one pastor, I know he's watching. I love you, brother. I know that he had not prepared mentally for what he's going to say and do when something like that happens. And I can tell you right now, none of us do. We're going to revert back to old habits is what we're going to do. And so what you need to do as a pastor is start thinking to yourself, all right, an active shooter comes in right now. What am I going to do? I can tell you right now, hundreds of people are looking at you for guidance. And if you duck down and hide, they'll duck down and hide. But I think it's important to start giving commands to your congregation. Let the security team handle what's happening. And then you tell them, duck down, stay down, and then give words of confidence. Let them know everything is going to be okay. The security team is handling it. Everything will be okay. We're going to get through this in a minute. You're going to stay down, and then we're going to reunite you with your children. Please don't get up right now. we're protecting your children right now. And you got to think about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. And the other thing you need to do is actually get parishioners in there and role play it and tell them to do exactly what they would do in an event like that. The most important thing, though, out of all of this, and I actually should have led in with this, is actually have a security team. Why do you not have a security team? I get lots of pastors, priests, and bishops calling saying, why do we need one? Because we're at a high risk of attack. We have been told that by the FBI director. We have been told that by Homeland Security. ISIS told us that. ISIS told their followers to attack Christian churches and Jewish synagogues. And they have been doing that. We've had multiple lone wolf attacks at churches in the United States that I've covered here on this channel. And churches still are refusing to do a safety team. Now, look, a safety team doesn't mean that you've got guys with AR-15s standing around. What it means is you have a highly trained group that is ready to handle any crisis, from delivering a Band-Aid to somebody that has a boo-boo to dealing with an active shooter and dealing with the aftermath of that. Look, truth be told, you're more likely to give first aid than you are to stop an active shooter at your church. You're more likely to have an arson at your church than an active shooter. And if you have a safety team, they will be practicing for all of that. They will train for all of that, and they will come up with guidelines and plans on how to do that. And hopefully you train with them. The most important thing is that when you have an incident like this happen at your church, is that you involve everybody in the church. They all have something to do. As an example, here you have 60 children separated from their parents. Those parents are going to want to get to their kids. You have 60 of them. That means potentially 120 people rushing the stage. And with those 60 kids, I mean, you're talking upwards of almost 200 people rushing the stage, which makes a wonderful target, by the way, during an active shooter. You have to have a whole church response. Churches that do have security teams are often going to say, well, the security team's going to handle it. Usually that's 1 to 5 people max. How are they going to do everything? How are they going to stop the active shooter? How are they going to stop the person with the rifle from coming in? Coordinate with police, reunite children, calm the congregation. No, the pastor has a role in calming the congregation. Your Sunday school teachers, they should be trained in reunification with parents, so kids don't go with the wrong person. You may have one security person assigned to the children to protect the children, one to the pastor to protect the pastor, and then the others are dealing with the man with a gun. The pastor needs to calm everybody down, and then your greeters and your ushers should be trained on evacuation. They have a role to play as well. And then you practice that as a whole church over and over and over again by doing scenario training with your pastor and all the volunteers, and just act out different kinds of incidents, from a medical emergency, somebody collapsing and having a heart attack, a stroke, something like that, all the way to an active shooter and everything in between. To not have a security team is not an option right now. Again, we've been warned by ISIS, the FBI, and Homeland Security what's going to happen. If you don't look at the past current events, recent current events, and you don't take notice, you need to wake up. The biggest threat is a lone actor that hears these messages from ISIS and carries them out on his own, because they've been told to do that. Now, is mental illness a part of this? Absolutely. We know that Middle Eastern terrorists often recruit people with mental deficiencies to carry out their attacks. Now, I just wanted to give you the information on this and to keep reminding you that we are at threat condition orange, which is a high risk of attacks, which you can see here. I'm kind of borderline thinking it should be an imminent attack going to red. An imminent attack is coming. I don't know what else to tell you. I can keep speaking these words, but I can't make you hear and I can't make you listen. I pray for your safety and I pray for your congregation. I'm not telling you to make your church into a bunker, hardly. I've said repeatedly in all these videos, keep your church wide open. As an example, for something like this, if you did layered security, if you had a security officer in the parking lot, he would have seen him walking up with a rifle, dressed in black, and he wouldn't have even gotten to the front door. If he somehow hit it and nobody noticed, the second layer at the door, security at the door, it's just one person. I'm not talking about multiple people. He can see him as he comes in and react to danger right away. Your third layer is people in the congregation that are worshiping and are ready to act if something happens. It's not difficult to start. If you want to learn more about how to set this up and you want free training, go to christianwarriortraining.com, hit the training tab. Sign up for the newsletter to get current updates. I do this all for free. If you want to support what I'm doing here, feel free to do a paid subscription, but don't do it. Give to your church, give to everybody else first. I'm not going to go broke. It just helps me run things here. Everything will always be free. no matter what. God gave me some talents as a 20-year SWAT team member and a 30-year cop. And I'm trying to pass that knowledge on to you to keep you safe. What keeps me going is the messages from you talking about incidents that occurred at your church that you stopped because of the training you received here. That's what keeps me going. I love you all. I will continue to pray for your safety. Don't make your church a bunker. Keep it wide open. Just have security out. Have them trained and just keep your eye out. That's it. That's all I've got for now. Remember your ABCs. Always be caring.